Hello, and welcome to another episode of the WildWestGamer. Today we're doing another review. I've already done one today, and I'm trying to get as many as I can get done today, because I'm back to work soon, so that means limited time to make these videos, unfortunately. But yeah, second review today, and it is of the one and only Medal of Honor Underground. There we go. PlayStation 1 game released in 2000 by EA and DreamWorks Interactive. The very studio, of course, set up by Mr. Steven Spielberg, which I expect is probably why this game and its original, the first one, Medal of Honor, simply, are probably two of the best games ever made. And I say that without any embellishment at all. They are absolutely fantastic, completely brilliant in almost every way. This game in particular, though, shines for me personally because this is the first World War II themed first-person shooter I ever played. It was also my first multiplayer experience as well, which some may think is a bit strange, because when you're young, you don't really appreciate the advances in the games industry and games. So games like GoldenEye for the N64 were games that I had and did play, but the actual multiplayer I never really got into that until after games like this. So this game does have a very special I have a very special affection for. The reason so is, like I said, the quality of this game is so high. I mean, for a game of its time, for 2000, it is incredibly good. We're talking things like set pieces, quite action orientated set pieces, very good enemy AI, especially for when you consider this is as I showed you in the previous review, this is the console that originally was still using two-dimensional character models. This makes a big advancement. It has three-dimensional character models. The first one did as well, but this one takes it up a little notch by some more animations. Good sound effects, good lighting. Interesting story, interesting characters, and an all-round really, really good sort of action adventure-esque element to it. It's a little bit like Saving Private Ryan crossed with Where Eagles Dare, or the Guns of Navarone, or Force 10 from Navarone. One of those sort of like, it's got that element of quite gritty, grounded war, whilst at the same time it's got you as the lone wolf taking on the entire Third Reich. These games, and when I say these I mean Medal of Honor 1 and Medal of Honor Underground, had they were overseen by Steven Spielberg, who coincidentally, as most of you know, did Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers. Which is why they very bizarrely have this, I don't know what it is, but they have this very similar feel to them. And maybe it's the aesthetic, I don't know. I want to say the aesthetic, I mean just the way everything is as a World War II game. There's not this OTT, quality to the violence. There's no sort of, the Germans aren't necessarily caricatures. They just feel like ordinary German soldiers. They're not played to be uber evil. Likewise, the people you fight with, your allies, they as well feel very believable. And I think it's because Saving Private Ryan for me was the first World War II film that I saw which really dealt with not only the Second World War but war in general with a very dark and realistic tone. This game seems to do the same thing. Whilst you may clip a guy with a round and he falls off a balcony. It's still, it's still, things like that still feel, rather believable in the context of the game. If you hit someone in the leg, they'll stumble and fall. It's not just you're pumping rounds into anything that moves and clipping arms and legs and people still going down dead. These guys will take a lot of rounds to put down if you don't hit them right. So that sort of element of believability is sort of welcome in a game this old, because it adds to the whole atmosphere. Like I said in Alien Trilogy, you have to be wary of where you're firing off your rounds to. You can't just run into a room and hit the X button and hope to clear out a room. You've got to make sure you aim for these guys because they're quick. They move. They jump on the floor. They go prone. They roll while they're on the floor. They'll really try and minimize the amount of space that you've got to hit them on. They'll lean around corners and fire with one hand. Blind fire so that you can't get a good bead on them. And things like that really set this game apart from some of the stuff of nowadays. We've got some real games with some real dumb AI, really poorly implemented AI. And this game for some reason seems to trump them in respect to how well it does its gunfights. But yeah, sorry, going back to of course Steven Spielberg and DreamWorks Interactive watching over this, developing it along with EA. It is absolutely fantastic, and it's really sad when you look at this game and then you look at the next one, which would have been Medal of Honor Frontline. I mean, I'm going by the PlayStation releases here. It's a real shame when you consider that after Frontline, the entire series just dive bombed, really. I do like Rising Sun. I play it. In fact, I am playing it at the moment. It's one of the games I'm playing as part of sort of my retro phase. And it's still an enjoyable game, but it loses the magic. I mean, this is just steeped in that whole Medal of Honor, the feeling of Medal of Honor. And people who play Medal of Honor know what I mean. I mean, as in Medal of Honor 1, 2, as in Underground, sorry, and Frontline. They know what I mean. There is that feel to these games. They have that quality that just grabs you and goes, this is how a World War II shooter should be. This is how a shooter should be. There's, the music is brilliant. The sound is brilliant. The way that, when you reload guns, there's that nice click. And, when you charge the gun, then when you fire them off, everything feels nice. The way when you select through your weapons, the way they click as they come out. You've got your Luger pistol. You'll pull up. I think it's a Walther. You're not a Luger. You pull up your Walther. And it, that nice clicking noise of all the bits moving on it as you adjust your grip. Likewise, you've got your machine guns. They're all they're the stem, quite metallic-y. You pick out a petrol bomb. There's that nice sort of the noise of bottles clinking together, and as you light the lighter, that nice Zippo effect, the flame catching hold of the rag, and you throwing it, and that nice sound of smashing, and then fire engulfing all the petroleum inside. Things like that are just really make you feel part of the world. Everything about that, when bullets whiz by, when they clip off glass and brickwork, and when you hit enemies, there's not this sort of ridiculous and this there's blood everywhere. It sounds like hitting a pillow, which is how it sounds when when someone's shot. If you listen to soldiers talk, a lot of what we think warfare's like it's not like that at all. And this game really seeks to make you feel like you're in there. So when you do fire around at someone, it's like it sounds like what it would, hitting like a bag of potatoes, hitting a body of water. It's that thuddish impact, and the sound of the bullet, actually going through them, which is quite brutal. It's quite dark. But that, of course, this is warfare, and that's how it's supposed to be. And of course, it has to be that way because you're playing as Manon. Manon, I think that sounds right. who is a woman for a start, and a French resistance fighter. So a very different kind of story. In the first round and in Frontline, we played as Lieutenant Jimmy Paston, who does make a small cameo in this one, which is quite a nice touch, because it again makes you feel not only as part of this bigger world, this bigger war, but also part of the series. Because the reason this game was made was because Manon appeared in Medal of Honor 1. So they wanted to give her, a backstory and make her feel like more of a character. So for people who went back and played Medal of Honor, they would know more about Manon. So yeah, and this is how the game plays. You play as this French resistance fighter, and that is how you feel. You start off doing these rather underground sort of missions, these quite espionage missions, sneaking through French villages and towns at night time, trying to take out tanks here and there, and blow up supplies and stuff like that, and sneak your way through the German ranks to get at the soft underbelly of the enemy, because you can't take them face on. Which I really like. And then as you progress through the French resistance, the OSS, the American Office of Special Services, yeah, I think that's right, picks you up, and they ask you to become one of them essentially, and start doing much more bigger, bolder and brasher missions, like taking on Rommel's panzers in Africa. And this allows you to see a lot of different environments. The game goes from France, through to Africa, Casablanca. There's one of the missions, and of course even Himmler's castle, Himmler's SS castle, his SS retreat. Things like that just mean that the game can always keep it fresh, and there's a lot of good weapons in it, and the whole thing really never gets boring, never slows down. The missions are really varied. Sometimes you're attacking, sometimes you're escaping, sometimes you're undercover, and there's really nice little elements to it where you don't have to go through shooting. You can go through it with a forged ID, and slip through the net. Eventually you will have to, once you achieve your objective, which is laying explosives or whatever, you do have to go loud, I'm afraid. And it's not as advanced as going the whole way through the game, either doing it stealthy or all guns blazing. But no, nonetheless, little bits like that really are a welcome in a game like this, because a lot of shooters today, I think, feel that their shooting is just good enough to go the whole way through on. Well, it's not at all. The variety is the spice of life, as they say, and games like this really do enforce that and make you go, yeah, I want to come back to that again, because I just didn't get enough of that. I didn't get enough of that. I want to play more of that, and also I just enjoy playing this game. So yeah, the sound's great, the storyline's really good. The gameplay is really good, but of course, with all things, the gameplay is drastically different to what we have today. There's no regenerating health. There's no Halo or Call of Duty style setup. You're using the X to shoot. The left analog, you can either move it with the D-pad or the left analog stick, but that literally that moves you forward and turns your view to the sides. So as opposed to nowadays where the left just moves you around and the right controls where you look, this is you're moving forward whilst at the same time controlling where you look. Then the right stick is how you can strafe. But when you go into actual aiming, which you hold down the right trigger, the R2 one, that brings up your crosshairs, because there's no crosshairs in this. Only when you actually want to, really, use like a Deadeye sort of style aiming accuracy mode. You hold the R2, your crosshairs come up, and then you use the left stick for all directions, up, down, across, diagonal, anything like that. Which is at first quite counterintuitive after we've had what we've had with most of our games over the last 10 years, really since Halo came out and revolutionised the control scheme. Likewise, you shoot with the X, and grenades, of course, you actually have to select them from your inventory. There's no melee button in this, not until you empty a gun. But things like that are just, it's kind of like muscle memory. If you've ever played these games, your body just really quickly, steps back into the old pattern of things, and you really find yourself going, yeah, this is how we used to play. God, this is so different from, anything that's out now. In fact, by today's standards, everything comes across as quite boring. This feels incredibly, it's bizarre. It feels revolutionary, and it's revolutionary in the way that it's liberating, more than anything. So the single player is brilliant, which I've been talking about. But there's also a multiplayer. There is a 2 versus 2, though. If you get the for the PlayStation 1 and for the PlayStation 2, I think you can get an adapter which allows you to have 4 players. That was because, of course, the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2 only came with 2 controller ports. Of course, after, I'm assuming, Sony looked across at N64 and Nintendo and saw how much fun people were having, on basically every multiplayer game on the N64 with 4 players, they quickly went, right, we need to do something about this, guys. So they allowed you to now have 4 players if you get the adapter. I don't know how many of those are floating around. I don't know how many of you have PlayStation 1s or PlayStation 2s. If you're like me, I'm using my PlayStation 3 to play this. I do have a PS2 though, because of course at the moment there's not been an update to allow some of the PlayStation models to play PlayStation 2 games. I'm hoping now that the PS2s have finally been, I guess, decommissioned, as you could call it, from being manufactured and sold in Japan, or well, anywhere, that they will bring out an update now. So yeah, but yeah, they're, like I say, multiplayer mode, really good. You get to select your loadouts. You've got a nice series of maps, character skins, good fun. With 4 mates, if you want to have a bit of, like, say, an evening of old school games, certainly recommend this. It is good fun. You sort of forget how much fun you can have with just 4 players. I think nowadays people go, well, we need to have 32 players, we need to have 16 players. It's anything less than 8 people is just sucks. No. Do enjoy it. Four players is a lot more intense, because you find it's not so much. Again, I mean, all right, it's not, perhaps, it's not going to be as much team play missions, but it's that when that counter's ticking down, and and there's like 5 kills between you and the lead. That's when games get their most fun. As you get those cheeky rocket kills, or perhaps you are perhaps a little bit of a camper with the odd sniper, and but. That's the fun of it, because as games progress, people learn each other's tactics until eventually, it is a complete and utter, anarchy. It's a riot, it's complete chaos. So yeah, definitely multiplayer as well. You can get passcodes like all good old retro games do. I know you can still get pass, code words and stuff like that, and cheats on games nowadays, but they just don't feel like they need them, do they? Not anymore. They're far too easier and linear, and allow you to basically get away with anything, because that's how games are made nowadays. They developers want you to complete them, whereas this puts up a fight. I'm a bit of a noob, I have to be honest. Stepping back, it really knocked it out of me, but I'm playing it on easy, which is ridiculous, because again, this game is brutal. At the end of a level, unless you select easy, you will go through to the next levels with the ammo that you left over with and the health you left over with, which is really brutal. There's nothing worse than starting off, say, on the final segment of a level, where you're taking on the heaviest troops, the hardest troops, and you've got quarter health, half health, and only a pistol left. It's nuts, it's crazy, but that's how games are made, and that's why it's such a welcome return to, for anyone who goes, God, games are too easy nowadays. This is the game to get. Pick this game up. Again, I picked this up for $2.99 anywhere. You can get that for anywhere. And this, I mean, like I say, this game is 13 years old. But it still plays like a dream. Like I say, it's running the demo right now, but I could probably leave it like this for 3-4 hours, and it wouldn't glitch out, it wouldn't bug up. They really made these games robustly back in the day. So yeah, that's really everything really about Medal of Honor Underground. All round a really good game. Any negative points I'd have to say about it would be, again, the control scheme is a retro control scheme. It's not, it's not what it was like today. I'm pretty sure you can go in and customize the button selection, which you're welcome to do. But it's, the fun of it is adapting, right? It's returning back to the glory days of gaming. Likewise, the graphics are a little bit, it's not a beautiful game, but it's that nostalgic quality that really, really just shines through and grabs you and goes, yeah, this is how games used to be made. They knew the graphics couldn't carry this game alone, so they really went for quality over clarity. As my saying is, they really went for it. And they don't pull any punches. This is a really good game, and you feel like you're in war. You feel like this is warfare, and it's just really good fun. Really, really good fun. Certainly recommend, if you can, get Medal of Honor 1 and Underground. You can still get the dual box set, which I certainly would recommend. Unfortunately I haven't got Medal of Honor 1. I really wish I did. But I don't. I'm going to try and get hold of a copy so I can do a review on that. But for anyone who's interested in retro games, anyone who's interested in where the Medal of Honor series began, this is where to start, because this is the thing, when you play a game like this, and then when you look at how far it's fallen, it's so sad. It's developers put way too much faith in the technology. Way too much faith that graphics or a name is going to carry these games. No, we've lost single player first person shooters, it feels. Alright, we've still got the likes of BioShock, Borderlands, Far Cry, stuff like that, stuff which does give you a really good story. But whatever happened to the fact that every game had that, every first person shooter had that? We deserve that. Like I always say, if you're paying the money, if you're laying down $60 on these things, or close to £50, if you're here in the UK, you deserve a good game. This game is finished. This game was fixed from the day it shipped. There was nothing wrong with it. Yeah, age has taken its toll, and sometimes this game will, have a bit of a funny moment. But that's because it's 13 years old, and it still plays better than a lot of stuff that's released today. That's ridiculous. If you lay down, if I spend $2.99 on a 13-year-old game and have more fun playing that than when I spend like £50 on a brand new copy of whatever, what does that say about the state of the game industry? That is really, really bad. Games these days should be made, they should be tested, they should be, completely stripped of bugs, and then they should be released. And complete. None of this bullshit about pulling out bits to add on as DLC later. That is horseshit. That's complete utter crap. You pay your money, you get your game. This is that. This is what this is. You've paid your money. You've got your game. Some asshole somewhere didn't go, we can get, 20 extra whatever, by, stripping out some character skins and sticking them in later. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. That's not how games roll. That's not how games are made. This is how games are made. And I refuse to accept anyone and say, games cost more to make nowadays. Yeah, okay, cool. But don't you think people are going to pay more money for a really good game that's fully, made than, some half-assed, crappy release? I really love it when I power up a brand new game and the first thing I get is, bloop, update. What? Sorry, what did... I don't buy a washing machine and then have some guy come round to my house and install the spinner on it. I buy it full. It's I don't buy flour and eggs and then get the baker to come round and then turn it into bread because, he couldn't be bothered to make it there and then and finish the job, so he decided he'd come round to my house and do it. Sorry if that sounds a bit ridiculous, but that's kind of what it is. If you're not getting a game that is completely fixed and, fully polished, then why should you be paying full smack for it? And then when they decide to bring out DLC for it, which suspiciously feels like it should have been part of the completed project, I can think of a couple games that have done that. The new version of Prince of Persia, you remember the cel-shaded version. The epilogue DLC they brought out, that was the proper ending. So what you're telling me is I've just spent 6 or 8 hours of my life playing a game that I enjoyed. A lot of people didn't, but I did, only to be punished because Ubisoft wanted to make an extra, however many bucks. What? How does that happen? How is that allowed to happen? Some people say it's our fault for putting up with that, but to be fair, it's their fault for doing it. Their integrity, their decency, God damn it, they're supposed to be gamers like us. What they think that because we're going to be, we're eager to get our hands on the second or third, installment of a franchise, we're just going to pay out our asses for, a half-done piece of shit. No, that ain't going to happen. And events of recent in the gaming industry are proving how much backlash you are going to get if you send out a half-assed game. We are not happy about it. So, my overall message on that: return to the good old days. Return to the glory days of gaming. This is what it's about. I've got a stack here of retro games I'm going to be going through the next couple of days, picking the best. Like I say, I got a copy of Resident Evil 2 that's being lent to me on pain of death should anything happen to it. So I'm going to try and get a review of that done, because that is a seriously good game, and another prime example of how franchises fall so far despite the advancements in technology. So, just to end it, Medal of Honor Underground. Fantastic game, brilliant, complete and utter classic, complete and utter retro. If you can't afford, to whack out full price for a brand new console and, the latest games, you ain't losing anything, dude. Guys, girls, sorry, even. You get yourself a PlayStation 1, get yourself a PlayStation 2, and buy the classics. Buy the old games. Because when I say they're timeless, I mean it. They are timeless. You can pick them up now and have the same amount of fun. And you know what? So they don't look as, they don't look almost real life. Does that really matter? I don't think it does. So yeah, try and get yourselves a copy of this game. Really good. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave your opinions, leave your comments. Please subscribe. I'd love to see that you guys are loving it and wanting to stick around and see more. So yeah, once again from me, the WildWestGamer. Thank you very much for watching, and yeah, see you later. Have a good one. Bye.